Hey Flow City, this is Garrett, and I'm excited to be here today as we talk about the merging of technology and nature and dive a little bit deeper down the rabbit hole with blockchain. So the last few episodes have been super technical. I hope that you can really start to understand where this technology is going and why it's going to be life-changing for relationships. Just take a moment today, and I invite you to just close your eyes and picture yourself in a year. Imagine, what will you have done? What will you have accomplished? Are you in the same place? Are you with the same person? Are you experiencing flow every day, or are you struggling every day? And are you forgetting to release? Are you recovering properly? Imagine now the best possible scenario. What would make your life impossibly good in a year that you cannot comprehend today? I want you to take that energy and bring it into this episode, and remember that we create goals to move us forward, but it's not really the progress that matters. It's just about being present. That if we can be fully present here and now, we can be happy. We can feel gratitude. And it's not even about being happy, to be honest. It's just about experiencing emotion. And I hope that I can bring a little bit of emotion into blockchain, because it can get a little technical. So I want you to open your eyes if you haven't already. Hopefully you didn't close your eyes when you're driving, and just be here now. And if I can invite all the future listeners to this episode to be here now, I want to take that energy and speak to you as eloquently as I can and flow. Welcome to this explanation of blockchain. Imagine a cube, and it's blue, and it's about the size of your hands. And you can hold it, you can move it around, shaped like a 6-sided dice, okay? And this dice that you're holding, this cube, you can rotate it and you can feel it. It's got smooth corners and it feels good. It's not too heavy, but it's definitely blue. And now the opaque blue on the outside begins to fade, and you can see inside of it, and it becomes like crystal, an emitting light. So you see a light inside this crystal cube that you're holding, and you see it. All right, so we're going to take this cube. We've got this blue cube, and we're seeing this light emitting from this cube. And it's this crystal cube, and you got the light, and it's shooting this, let's say, red laser. You got the second cube, and you're attaching it to this laser. And imagine the laser is actually going to hold these cubes together, and that this laser's never going to turn off. It's always going to be on. We're going to add another cube and another cube. This is blockchain. You can, instead of a laser, you can imagine a string, but the laser is just like, it's digital. So blockchain is very digital. You think of it as digital. So essentially, blockchain is a ledger. It's a system of recording information on blocks, this crystal blue block. The crazy thing about it is that you can't change what's inside of it. Once that block is created, the block is created. You can't go back into that block and change the color. You can't go back into that block and change the amount of light inside of it. You can't change anything about it. So blockchain is this essentially unalterable block connected by a laser or a string over and over and over. So you have this digital chain of cubes. Cube 1, Cube 2, Cube 3, Cube 4. Everybody can see the blocks. Everybody can notice which block went where. When it was created, it's got what's called metadata. Like when you take a photo on your iPhone, this is what lens was used. This is where it was taken. This is how many pictures were taken. This is the file size, all that stuff. That's all contained within a block on blockchain. And you can't change it. You're unable to change this block that was created. So that's why it's a big deal, because it's open to the public. Bitcoin is very simple. It's just blocks attached to each other with financial transactions from one address to another address. So from one person to another person, from one company to another company. You can see the transactions happening. The power comes on Ethereum, where you take the principle of Bitcoin, of this public ledger of everybody being able to see. And if one block, somebody said, no, that didn't happen, then all the other people on the network go back to and look at that block and say, wait a second, that's not right. And if there's a problem, you do a fork. So essentially you fork off of the chain, and you create a new chain and you stop that one. And this is like a tree with roots. And as soon as a tree hits a rock and the root stops, it doesn't just stop. It actually branches off and go down under the rock or over the rock. That's what happens with blockchain. It's like this organic technological structure. And essentially the way that Ethereum works over Bitcoin is the smart contract layer. So not only do you see all the transactions on Bitcoin, you also see the transaction, the block. Not just do we see that metadata, but now we can start to program it. We can start to say inside that block, I also want to do this and this and this. And so you're able to create these smart contracts, which we've touched on the last couple episodes. And that just gives you power as a person. That gives you the ability to automate things, to not just buy things, but the ability to create new things. So we quite literally are programming money with Ethereum, and it's pretty incredible. So how can you as an individual use it? You can create an NFT. You can do a lot of really interesting things. And then if you stick to that, what's called Ethereum mainnet, it's very expensive because the key with Ethereum was to make sure that it was very secure. But with security comes expense. So what we're now creating is a cheaper version, a less expensive version of Ethereum, which is called Layer 2. And Layer 2 is essentially taking a bunch of transactions that happened, as opposed to every single transaction. You're going to take a chunk of blocks. So instead of one block, and then every single person on the blockchain is verifying, yes, this block was true. This actually did result. This is an authentic transaction. You're actually going to take a bunch of transactions, package them up all together, and then you are going to say, with the same level of security of Ethereum, yes, these 1,000 blocks happened, and you're going to submit it as one transaction on the mainnet. What that does is it allows for the cost of what previously, let's say, cost you $100 on Ethereum to sign something like a contract or buy something. It costs you $100 to sell something. Now we can bucket that together with 1,000 other people, and we can say, we're going to split the cost between these 1,000 transactions, but we're going to submit it as one. And so now you're splitting the cost. Layer 3 is after Layer 2, and you can go down, think Layer 7. We're stacking, we're building more ability on top of or below the existing structure. So I like the example of a tree and roots. You can plant different types of trees, and the root structure underneath is not necessarily the same. However, one without the other, is a dead tree. If you have no fruits, you might chop down the tree. This is similar to blockchain. Just think of blockchain as a tree. And the flow of blockchain is this root system. And essentially anybody can dive down and look at the roots. Most people aren't going to, because you have to dig up the earth and you have to do work to look at the root system. And so you have a lot of people like me who really dive deep into the root system. However, most people, maybe yourself, you're going to look at the top layer of the tree and you're not going to dive into the roots. You're just going to say, oh, that's the fruit. I see the fruit on the tree. I see the leaves on the tree. I see the bark on the tree. All of this network hidden under the ground is actually what is producing the fruit, the nutrients in the soil. All of that is producing that. So just think about what like layer 0 essentially is, you looking at the tree, and it's just the price of Ethereum and Bitcoin. That price is being dictated by what's actually happening in the ecosystem. It's like a giant company that allows other companies to build on top of it. It's pretty cool, and it's decentralized. It's moving towards a distributed network where at some point, we're not even going to need Ethereum. We're just interacting with each other peer-to-peer without decentralization. We're not even exchanging with Ethereum. We're exchanging between each other from my network to your network. And that's pretty exciting, to be honest. So essentially, we have the ability to do what's called governance. So that means a true democracy is not what a centralized authority is telling you what to believe or what to do. They're not creating the laws of the society and then saying, here's the laws, do it. And then there's a lot of corruption that can happen in that centralized environment. So what Ethereum allows with this decentralized model and later distributed, and it makes it so that everybody can have trust without trust. It's a trustless system. So what we can do is we can create governance. We can say, I want to pass a law that makes it so that all artists get $1 per day for the rest of eternity. And everyone in the system, every person can vote on that. And based on the vote, the organization on Ethereum can move in a certain direction. It's an organic direction. So as opposed to the CEO of a company saying, this is where the company's going, what actually could happen is the CEO asks all of the people that are in the organization and who want to become a part of the organization, what direction should we go? And the vote is a democracy. And so the organization goes the direction of the people within the organization. Imagine a church or a government taking that approach where the people who have the power at the top actually say, you know what? No, we're going to now take and distribute the power that we have for ourselves at the top. And we're going to distribute the power amongst all of you, and you together as a collective are going to make the decisions. That is the power of Ethereum and the problem with centralization. The problem with a government being centralized or a church being centralized is that you don't actually know what the collective wants, and you're making top-down decisions for the people. And then the people say, wait a second, I didn't make that decision. I don't want that. But if you can actually look, going back to the crystal blue cube, if you can look at the transaction that happened and say, wait a second, most of the people wanted this. So you have two options as a root system in a tree or as the cube system. You can either break off because you did not agree with the system that was in place, the decision. You can create your own fork of that blockchain, or you can say, all right, I wasn't okay with that decision, but I'm going to stay on this blockchain because of all the benefits that it brings. If you decide to fork off of it and build your own system and say that decision was too big for me to feel comfortable continuing with the organization, then you create your own organization. And if the vote was 51 to 49%, that you can take probably up to 49% of the people from that blockchain onto this new blockchain, and you can create it. That other blockchain can keep existing, but now we have a new one. This is the idea of blockchain. I think that even if you don't have to understand the root system, you can still admire the fruit and the tree and say, wow, that is pretty cool. And the fact that we can create and program art and finance is just, it's amazing. And I think that this really goes into Flow for me and Flow City, where this is the foundational level. The foundation of Flow City is based on these principles. So Flow City is going to go in the direction of the community. It's not going to go in the direction that I think is best. I think it's going to go in a certain direction, but the more people we get into the community, it might go in a completely different direction. But I think that's the power of community, and that's the power of networks like Ethereum that are not governed by the CEO. I hope that some of that made sense and that brought a little bit of light into your world when it comes to blockchain. Thank you for being here. I hope that you will enjoy the next few episodes as we take a little bit lighter approach and are not talking so much about the technical aspects of things. But thank you for being here, and enjoy your day.